All right. What's going on? Jacob Zimmerman here on the mic, doing another one of these NBA reaction type videos. I did one a couple weeks back, talked about the first week in the NBA, and now here we are a couple weeks later, and we're about through the first month of the NBA season. The first month, it starts in October. October's done now. Hasn't been quite a full 4 weeks, but the first, technically, October, the first month of the NBA is done. First couple weeks in the books, and I think it's time we revisit this. Also, I need to get my podcast assignment done for my radio class, but here we are reacting so far to the NBA season. Looking at the standings so far, I got them pulled up. The Warriors leading the way for the Western Conference. Behind them is the Jazz. Behind them, the Mavericks, Suns, Grizzlies, Kings, Nuggets, and Trailblazers. Those are your top 8. Just outside looking in, currently in the playoff, what is it called? The play-in. That is new. I need to remember that. The Clippers and the Lakers are in the 9 and 10 spots. Not the start either one of those teams was looking for. I know the Clippers don't have Kawhi Leonard, and then the Lakers, obviously, are off to some struggles. I'll go ahead and talk about that first. The Lakers are kind of my team, and they've been without LeBron James the past 2 games, and things have been kind of looking pretty ugly for them. I'll pull up their schedule here on the ESPN app. I don't know if you guys do that. Follow along on the ESPN app, or if you use Safari, but whatever you guys use, it works. But the Lakers so far, they have not been off to the start that a lot of people expected them to be off to, but it kind of feels like this is what I thought was going to happen. The LeBron teams always get off to a slow start. I think with Westbrook being in the picture, it's going to take even longer for this thing to stir together and mix well. But you look at some of these games, they choked to the Thunder. They blew a 26-point lead earlier in the year, and then without LeBron, they lost again to the Thunder. What can you do? Last night, was it last night? Or was it 2 nights ago? I don't even keep track of my nights anymore. It was a couple nights ago. The Thunder came back against the Lakers once again. And this was not the game for them. 5-4 on the year now. Oklahoma City is 2-6. Their only wins are against the Lakers. And Westbrook played okay. He played 26 points. AD had 29. He was 10 of 23. 23 shots to get 27 points isn't the best. You're only attempting 4 free throws. There's some things to nitpick here with the Lakers. But one of those that you can't nitpick is Carmelo Anthony. He's been off to a great start. He's had some really hot games. Every once in a while, he'll have an atrocious night. Like, I think their most recent one, he went 4 of 14. But Westbrook was worse. But Carmelo's been a really good bright spot. Howard's chipped in with some minutes. We've seen Jordan get some starts here and there, especially with LeBron out the lineup. They're playing Bradley more now that he's kind of back from his injury. Austin Reeves has been a really good 3-and-D player, an undrafted rookie, kind of filling that Caruso role as far as a white guy off the bench who can hustle, can make some plays out there. And once again, with the comparison to Caruso, plays well next to LeBron James, and that's why he's out there on the court. Wayne Ellington also comes back from injury, and Rondo has not really played a whole lot to start the season. I think the age is really showing there. Kent Bazemore's played some pretty good defense. He's got a good chunk of minutes. I'm curious to see what he's shooting from 3. 37.5% so far on the year. Not the greatest sample size, but if he can improve that just a little bit and still play some good defense, he currently is the best perimeter defender on the Lakers right now. Him, Bradley, and Nunn, and those guys are going to be key later in the year for the playoffs. And I kind of want to talk about Russell Westbrook, and I'll kind of merge this in with another thing I wanted to talk about is my NBA bet from last night. And if you don't know, I've kind of started to get a little bit into sports betting this year. I am 21 now. I turned 22 here in a couple days, actually. But now that I actually can do it, I can drive down to Eureka, the William Hill Sportsbook. It's only about 35 minutes away, 35, 40 minutes away from my house. It's across state lines, but over there, it's legal. It's fair game. And I did a bet. My friend was actually there, and he called me, said, what do I want to do for my bet? I looked at the lines, and it was, let me think off the top of my head. It was 2 games last night in the association. One was the Lakers-Trailblazers game, and the other one was the Suns and Hawks game. Those were the 2 games that had not started. It was Suns minus 3.5 against the Hawks, and I took the over. The over was about, both of these overs I'm about to say were about 220 combined. And then the Blazers at home with no LeBron, it was Blazers minus 5.5. I took the Lakers plus 5.5, and I took the under. Now, the under hit in the Lakers-Trailblazers game, and the spread and the over hit in the Suns game. So on a 4-leg parlay, what was I missing? Well, the Lakers did not cover. They lost by 15, and I only needed them to lose by what? 5? Yeah, by 5. Unfortunately, Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook are, and even Carmelo Anthony, are the reasons I missed out. My bet was 20 to win 240, something like that, and it didn't happen. That is the second time this year I've been really close to hitting a decent amount of money there, doing the best I can to bet on sports. And Anthony Davis left after, I guess, he was not feeling too great to start the game. He ended up leaving 7 minutes in and never returned. And Russell Westbrook went 1 of 13 from the field. Are you kidding me? 6 assists to 6 turnover ratio. This guy has been maybe one of the worst players in the whole entire NBA so far to start the year. I'm starting to get a little concerned now. After going 1 of 13, and I haven't seen anybody make a video about it. It's been 24 hours since the game, and I would expect to see more people up in arms, more people saying, wow, look at Westbrook's stat line. But I haven't seen too many videos. I know this video that I'm doing right now is kind of the same style as Kenny For Real and Rusty Buckets, and their kind of post-game reactions or just reactions to NBA topics, and that's exactly what I'm doing here, kind of piggybacking off of those guys, because that's a great idea. Not enough people do it, and I love seeing people's reactions really recently to the time that stuff happens, that way I can immediately go on, watch an opinion about it before I even have to talk about it, and kind of get some things in my head of maybe what I want to talk about, some inspiration. But that's not the case here. I haven't seen anybody talk about Westbrook's night, but 1 of 13, and Melo going 4-14 as well when he started off the year super hot. I mean, scorching hot. Over 50% from 3 on 6 attempts a game hot. And last night was not it from the Lakers. Dame finally bounced back. I should have saw it coming. I should have saw that it was going to come against my team. 25 points, 9 of 19 from the field, but 6 of 14 from 3. And it's good to see Damian Lillard get back on track. As for kind of rounding out those teams that were surprising me there, I listed off some of those teams in the Western Conference, but I didn't talk about the Eastern Conference teams. 76ers at the top. Wow, that's kind of surprising me with no Ben Simmons. I thought there'd be more drama in the year. I thought they would have a struggle to kind of think about what their defensive identity is, but that hasn't been the problem at all. But the shock of the year has got to be the Washington Wizards. They're at the 5th spot, 6-3 on the year. They got basically a ton of ex-former Lakers, and no Russell Westbrook there anymore. And Bradley Beal is hell-bent on never leaving Washington, when all the signs should point that Brad Beal should leave and try to have his legacy be as good as possible. The Hornets just outside the 8th spot. Raptors currently in playoff contention at 6-5 in the 8th spot. Knicks in there. Cavaliers in there at 7-4 with their 3 7-footer lineup. That's crazy. Maybe that's working out so well nowadays because everybody's trying to roll guards. And that's that's pretty much it for the shockers in the standings. The Kings are at 5-4 to start the year, but they'll probably regress back down. Pelicans 1-9 without Zion. I don't think that's too surprising. Pretty much getting what we're expecting here. Mavericks 6-3, even with Jason Kidd as their head coach. Luka is impressive. That's going to do it for this little wrap-up coverage of the first maybe month now of the NBA. Looking forward to seeing those Christmas games come up here in a couple of weeks. Not the most entertaining games so far, but once Christmas hits, especially once Klay Thompson comes back and the new year hits, and NFL ends especially, then people are really going to get started to buzz about basketball. And having the Jazz be pretty good in Utah. I don't like the Jazz. They're 7-2 though, but having them be good here in the state of Utah keeps people talking about basketball. And I like that. So I hope the Jazz can keep doing well here in the regular season. I'm Jacob Zimmerman. This has been a wrap-up. This is a second podcast I've done talking about the NBA season so far. Plenty more to come.